Gorgeous.
I just think it's funny. It's funny though, when I changed my hair to the curly, I got a lot of stares. I got a lot of laughs, like laughs and pointing.
No life in the streets, huh? They can murder you on tape now. How I'm supposed to eat, huh? When my pockets getting raped, why? Officers oversee the demise of the family. Prisons are property. I'ma buy one and release me. That's the sound of your last dream. That's the sound of your dead son. How he only 12, but you saw him and he had a gun?
Hi, my name is Kathleen Milner. I am from Milledgeville, Georgia, United States, and I am a school counselor here at International-Chaoyang.
Hi, I'm Allie Williams. I teach 7th grade language arts and 11th grade creative writing. I'm from Canton, Ohio.
My name is Nazia and I'm from South Africa. I've been in Beijing now for 2 years and I am a grade 3 teacher.
So basically it all started in school. I was partnered in an assignment with a girl from China. And we had to do group work, so we would go to each other's houses, and the more time I spent with her, the more questions I had. Like, she would change over her keyboard, like all types of just like little oddities to me because, you know, I'm not foreign, you know. So it was pretty cool, and I would just ask her questions, and she would tell me about how her goal was to teach in America. And then one day I had the idea, oh, maybe I should apply for jobs in China. So when I graduated, I did apply for some jobs, and I had some interviews lined up, but my family wasn't exactly comfortable with me, you know, fresh out of college, first year teaching, just going to this different country. And I had a few more job offers back in the States. So I decided to wait, and then most schools anyway wanted 2 years of experience, which I didn't have yet. So I waited. So after 2 years, I decided to get my master's in school counseling. So I also had to wait. And during that time, 2 of my sorority sisters moved here, and they were living here. So I was like, okay, well, that's good. And I can get their firsthand experience on what it's like. Because once you get recruited, they just want you to come because they want you to work for them. I didn't get to know firsthand what it was like, how it was. And so once they had good experiences, they were able to tell me, and I was like, okay, when I graduated my master's, we're doing this. And so I'm here.
I came to Beijing because I did a few summers abroad when I was in college, and I wanted to teach overseas after college, and I kind of put it off a few 6 years, and so I decided to try again, and here I am.
We got tickets to the China Open, free tickets. That was dope. So unfortunately, and then like it was really bad. I was really excited because I had put all of this Venus and Serena stuff outside of my office, hoping that maybe they'll walk past my office and see the pound Black Girl Magic or the I support you guys with the you know, the picture outside the door. But I think Serena had like an injury or something, and so she didn't play this time around. And I think Venus did, but I didn't get a chance to see her. It's kind of like hit and miss, trying to figure out which days to come. And then while I was here, my boyfriend was visiting during that time, so we were kind of like all over. So some days, you know, I just wasn't here. But it's pretty cool being in a National Tennis Center. It's just like the school itself is designed. It's very interesting just because we're literally underneath the tennis courts. And if you were to go around this little corner, these big doors, it leads out to the tennis courts. So it's just really interesting. I would definitely say it's not something that is customary back home in the States, you know. And I think this is the only school, maybe, I would venture to say, this is probably the only school that's in like a national tennis center like this. Like the school is built around this arena. The people who interviewed me were wonderful, spectacular. They made me feel comfortable, but like I said, just having my girls look at my contract, that kind of like sealed the deal. So super excited, dumb excited. You know, you get here, you're looking around. But when I got to the school, this part was under construction, so we can only see like parts of it. So everything that you see now didn't exactly come together the way it is. But it was just still like, you know, oh, I've never seen anything like this. I've never seen a school like this. It's really cool. And then our introduction you know how you're getting to know everybody. They did a really good job of it. The Olympics was this past summer. So the theme of the orientation was the THSI Olympics. So there's over 100 of us employees who were divided up into these groups, and we had these different tasks, and some of them were like KTV, who's killing it on the mic. Some of them were like shoe towers, duct taping people to walls and making them, suspend and stay there for a certain amount of time. Riddles, just all types of stuff. It was just a lot of fun. So they did a really good job of introducing us to the school and making us feel very comfortable.
The type of behavior problems here are not nearly as severe as they were at home. So I taught middle school at home. I teach middle school here too. And, we have kids that are kind of wild or playful or things like that, but they're not beating each other up or coming into school high or anything like that. So it's like, oh, these kids are still kids. The stress level here is like 1,000 times less as was teaching in the States. Yeah.
Pretty much the same. Everything you said. Yeah, that's definitely one of the positives. Like having a classroom that has fewer kids. I find the kids are really excited about learning. They very hardworking and enthusiastic, and they well disciplined. They listen. Maybe someone like the Chinese teachers may disagree because but for me, coming from where I come from, it's like a very big difference. And it's like heaven. Like really, like back at home, every day was a battle. I was on the battlefield every single day. And yeah, so it's much more easier. It's much more easier, and it makes you love what you do even more because you're focusing now on teaching, on becoming a better teacher, than constantly like focusing on classroom management and discipline, and like your whole day goes on lecturing about behaving, and now you can just focus on teaching, and you're not so stressed out. Like you go home and you still have that energy to think about what am I going to do tomorrow, how am I going to do things tomorrow, rather than I'm exhausted, I need to recover, that sort of thing, so that's also like a positive for me as well. And also like I teach fewer subjects than I did in South Africa, so that's pretty cool. Like in South Africa I had to teach all the subjects. I'd stay in my class the whole day. The same kids, I would teach maths, English, so it's like maths, literacy, numeracy, literacy, life skills, physical education, and 2 languages, other languages from South Africa. So now it's just English and ESL, which kind of like go together, and then social studies. So I have more energy.
Yeah.
I have more energy, and I'm not so overwhelmed when it comes to like planning, doing things. I can.
Yeah, I teach the same. I taught language arts at home, but I had 80-minute periods. So here, 45 minutes. So my teaching time here is a lot less, and I have time in between classes, so it's not so boom, 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 boom. It's nice because I have time to get everything ready, to get a lot of work done at school instead of taking everything home. So just much more relaxed here, and I can teach and I can go home and yes, you can have a life outside of teaching, and there's a lot to see in Beijing, so it's nice to have some energy to get out into the city and see a lot of different things.
Our academic principal, Wendell McConaughey, who hired us, he basically would send us these packets of like, FYI, things you need to know. This is how things work. So basically, he sent out an email once, and it was just like, well, you guys need to start getting to know each other, and nobody said anything for a while. And then at this point, I was obsessed with China. I was obsessed with moving to China. So I'm all on YouTube. I'm looking at your videos. I'm reading blogs. Everything was, I'm moving to China. And I was like, well, I'm going to email them. So I emailed everybody, and I got a few responses. So we went from there. So a few of us start talking from there, and then we added each other on WeChat, and then we started talking. So we were talking heavy before we even got here. And then once we got here, you put the faces to the names, and you get here and they put you in a hotel, and you're with more coworkers that you haven't met yet, but you're all in the same hotel. So you start exploring together, you start looking for housing together, and it just kind of like snowballed into this thing where it's like a family network. It's a little tricky. It does affect us here. The whole election, that was a roller coaster ride, because even though we weren't home during the election, prior to the election, we knew what was going on. We were involved in our communities. We used our voices, you know what I mean? And, to come, you move away, and you're still in tune with it because it's home. You're on Facebook, everybody's still talking about it. And you even go so far as to vote, even while you're overseas. And, the result wasn't necessarily, I'll only speak for myself, but I know a few of us, we weren't really happy with that result. You know what I mean? So it's hard to watch. And since we've been here, we've traveled a lot, and people everywhere have been asking, how do you feel about this? And how do you feel about that? And it's just hard. Like growing up in the South, there are instances where there's racism, and it exists, and it is what it is. Or you feel your way about it, you handle the situation, whatever the case may be. It's not my whole life. It's not everything is race related, or this bad instance of conduct from either race or whatever. But things just seem to get louder and louder and louder. And even from being overseas, you still feel it, you still see it still affects you, because your whole family's there. And even if nobody was there, it's still the point of, I still have brown skin, this still affects me, I still feel some type of way, because we're people, we're humans, no matter what country we're in, and we deserve to be treated as such. So things at home like that definitely do still affect us, but I think it's also kind of attracted us to this international life. Sometimes I watch the news. I watch CNN, and I check CNN daily or whatever. I'll see them report things about China, and it's like, well, I didn't know that was going on. I don't think, sometimes I see things I don't think is necessarily true. I think some things are embellished or made to be eye-grabbing, it's meant to be eye-popping, it's meant to get people's attention, And then you have these moments where, things are going on. I'm not necessarily privy to all of that because, one, I don't speak the language, and my media outlets and stuff aren't Chinese, besides WeChat. They aren't Chinese. So it's interesting, but I think it's attracted a lot of us towards this international lifestyle because it doesn't feel as heavy. Home is really heavy, and you love home, but you don't necessarily realize how heavy it is until you're kind of away from it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I think that a lot of us have experienced that. I never lived abroad. I hadn't studied abroad. It was one of those things that, I'm going to do it, but I never did it. So that's why I was so set on coming here. But now that I'm here, it's kind of like having on blinders. Things just don't feel as heavy because the things that may matter so much at home don't necessarily apply all the time here. So here, you may get discriminated against. They may not, want to pick you up, or they may not talk to you, or they may, go out, they just don't know, that for the most part it's pure ignorance versus people at home, better, you've been taught better. We just, as a society, decide not to do better, and then we pretend like it didn't happen. Whereas here, people are genuinely either interested or just uneducated about the way it affects us. Everything in Chinese media, everything revolves around China. When you see them watch TV on their phones, you'll see a setup almost like Modern Family or whatever, but it's all Chinese. Whereas at home, things are multicultural. You watch TV, you'll see different types of people, whereas here, everything is Chinese. Like nothing even matters. Like, it's almost like really like nothing even matters. Like, it's just, I'm just living. I'm happy. I go to work. I do these things. I have these people. And not just, my black coworkers, but, I have this family and, they accept me. They like me. whatever, and I'm just living my life. And it's just refreshing, you know, versus worrying constantly. I mean, seeing it at home, it's just always plastered in your face. You know what I mean? So it's not like that here, because of course I'm in a different place. So
yeah, like here, when you
meet people here, even here, are, you know, no matter where you go in the world. My sorority sister Alicia, who I was telling you about earlier, it's happened to her in Australia. You come across people, especially like other Americans, and they live this abroad life like you do. You would think that, oh, I'm open-minded, or I'm into, you know, experiencing new things, and you think that everybody else who's doing what you're doing is the same way, and it's not always like that. I think that it just depends on the individual, and if you can have an open conversation with them about it. Like I've had moments here where there's been an exchange of information. Someone's told me how they felt in regards to privilege, in regards to the things going on at home. And I've also had the opportunity of explaining my standpoint and how I think other people, you know, other Black Americans may feel. So it was cool. There definitely is a difference, and I would hope, even like for some of our friends and our coworkers who are from other countries, who you know, who are white, or you know, don't have the same, I guess, social constraints put on them. I hope that we enlighten them when we say our piece. I hope that, you know, it kind of gives them insight and perspective, you know. So as far as maintaining a long distance relationship, it's all about communication. So when I wasn't living back in the States, I lived in Milledgeville, Georgia. He lives in Atlanta. So we were 2 hours away. So what that meant was Skype every night, because we're just lovey-dovey like that. Skype every night, and then on the weekends we're together, or every other weekend we're together, or, you know, that type of thing. So it really kind of helped prep us for this. So it's almost like we just don't necessarily miss a beat. We just don't get to see each other as often. So I got here like August 20th. He came the first week of October. So it was a gap, but it wasn't like extremely horrible. It sucked not having, you know, your person right there, but we talked all the time. So everything that's going on with me here, he knows. Everything that he's doing at home, I know. You know, we have the same friends and stuff. So I'm included in things. It's just different. We just make a point to talk to each other. I don't think there's been a whole day here where we haven't gone without talking. And the time difference kind of works in our favor. So before daylight savings, or the time change, we're 12-hour difference. So that means I have to be here by 8. So at 7, I'm getting ready to go to work. It's 7 o'clock at home. He's off work. So that's a good time, you know, for us to talk. So those things kind of worked in our favor. But communication, talk. He has WeChat. We talk on WeChat. We video on WeChat. My friend's here. He knows. And then I came home in February. So from October to February. It's a gap, but it's not unbearable. Oh, sorry. And also about my boyfriend, when we first started dating, I was upfront with him and I told him that this was a goal of mine. This is something that I wanted to do. So he's known this for forever. So when it came time for me to make this move and make these decisions, he was very, very supportive. So I really appreciated that. So I say, do your research on it. And one thing I always tell myself is that I have this way of making things my own. Does that make sense? So you can do your research on something, but just know that no one else is like you. No one else is you. So taking something and kind of taking ownership of it, and if it's something that you want to do the research on it, learn about it, and then make it unique. Make it that thing that no one else can take from you. Make it that thing that no one else can deny. No one else can do the job that I'm doing. You know, that's how it should feel like. Nobody else is as good as, you know, you are at this particular job or this talent or this thing or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And stay hungry for it. I would tell my kids at home, cast your nets wide. And I know things can get tough. I know things are hard. I know that things happen to us. I know that, you know, some situations aren't always ideal. But if you reach out to to your teachers and to the educators who care about you, we will help. We will help no matter where we are. We will help you because there's love there and we want to see you succeed. Don't get in your way. Cast your net wide and watch what you bring in. You're capable of so much, and you won't know unless you try. You won't know unless you see what there is. And there's something that you can do that you don't know that you can do. I think back in undergrad, or even back in high school, I never thought that I would be here. It was kind of like, oh, I want to do that. But it was way back in the back of my head, and now I'm here. So one day you'll wake up and you'll be somewhere completely different, and you'll be having a brand new experience, and you'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here. Cast your net wide. And there's so much to learn. And I think a really cool thing about working with international staff is that you have these perceptions of places that you've never been, but you've only seen on TV. So for instance, I don't know if you remember, on Disney Channel there was this movie called The Color of Friendship. You know the Disney Channel movies, The Color of Friendship. And The Color of Friendship, I don't know if anybody remember, but it was one about the South African exchange student that this black family was hosting, and they thought they were getting this black girl, and it was a white South African girl. And it documents like their struggles, how, you know, their lives end up coming together, and they end up caring for each other, and it opened her eyes to what was going on at home. So that was my only, besides it being beautiful, and I know it's a wonderful place to travel, besides that, I didn't know anything about South Africa. So when I met all of my South African coworkers, it was kind of like, I hope they're okay. I hope that you just don't know, you know. And then you talk with them, and then you learn from them, and you exchange information. Or like meeting people who are from Germany is kind of like, all you know is like World War II, and it's kind of like, I hope they okay, you know. And then like you get to talking with them, there's just so much that we've been taught. I wouldn't say that it's wrong, but it's just cool to experience it for yourself, because there are things in history that definitely happened, no doubt about that. But it's cool to see where they are now, how it affects them, and how much you can still learn and grow from them, and how they can still learn and grow from you.